epithelium of the cyst, and cytoplasm becomes condensed and hyaline cyst wall is formed. And recently formed cyst will have two nuclei, but matured cyst will have four nuclei. So this matured cyst is the again the infective form. When we consume these matured cysts which are contaminated maybe in the water or in our food, then we get the giardiasis. This is the life cycle of giardiasis taken from CDC, and you can see that this is a mode of infections. Okay, here two means this: when we consume food contaminated, यहाँनिर I लेखेको हुन्छ नि, so I means infective form. This cyst is the infective form. When we consume contaminated food with cyst, then this causes infections in our duodenum. Okay, so they can bypass the acidic pH here. Cyst can bypass this, reaches the duodenum, and here they excistations occurs, and they form the tropozoites, and tropozoites starts multiplying by binary fusions, and few of them may localize in the biliary tract as well. Okay, so as they go down again, they will form cyst which will be passed into the stool. That is how the life cycle occurs, and this is the picture showing how they divide. Here from the cyst they give rise to tropozoites, then they binary fusion, they divide, and they form other tropozoites, and these tropozoites, when they passes here, then they start to develop into cyst. That's how their life cycle gets completed. They do not invade tissue but feeds on the mucous secretions, and they cause destructions of the brush border of our villi. Okay, duodenum and jejunal irritations may cause duodenitis or duodenitis, cause dull epigastric pain, flatulence, and acute or chronic diarrhea with staturia. Staturia means the stool mixed with fats, and there can be foul smelling stool containing large amount of mucus and fat but no blood. In giardiasis, because it do not invade our GI mucosal, beneath the mucosal layer, there is no blood cells seen in the stool. And one of the most, they usually present as a chronic disease. Okay, so the episodes may be lasting for months, and even sometimes they can go unnoticed or asymptomatic पनि हुन सक्छ. So one of the effect of giardiasis can result into malnutrition and weight loss, especially in our part of world. These are one of the very common problems that occurs in children from remote area. Okay, because they usually do not get proper nutrition, plus on top of that they will get these giardiasis, which can also lead to, which can provoke these malabsorptions to be worse. May lead to chronic cholecystitis and jaundice when parasite localizes the biliary tract. Okay, when they move into biliary tract, they can lead to cholecystitis or chronic cholecystitis or jaundice. And other conditions associated with giardiasis are hypogammaglobulinemia, protein calorie malnutrition, gastric eclothydria, and reduced secretory IgA in the blood. So these can be the other effect of giardial infections. Now, laboratory diagnosis. Laboratory diagnosis is usually done with stool sample and fresh stool or duodenal aspirates, or sometimes we can even take biopsies or serum for diagnosis of giardiasis. Wet mount preparations. In bright field microscopy, cyst can be seen as oval or ellipsoidal in shape, and immature and mature cysts have 2 to 4 nuclei. As we described previously, these are the cysts of Giardia that you can see in your microscopic examinations. If you were about to have practical sessions, then we could demonstrate you about how this cyst appears in the stool samples. I hope the online classes will get over soon, and then we will have our regular classes, and in your practical sessions we will demonstrate you how the cyst of these giardia appear in stool sample. Okay, so for now you look at the picture. These are the cysts, and if you look carefully you may see 4 nuclei in them with a axoneme. Okay, here this is a cyst, this is a tropozoid form, and this is a cystic form. These weight mount examinations is not good sample for good smear or good method of examining these giardial infections, but they are commonly available, so we at least can try to find cyst of giardia in these samples. Another is Intero test. Intero test means as the parasite remains firmly attached, even 5 to 6 consecutive stool sample may not yield any cyst or tropozoites in the stool. Okay, so patient is asked to swallow a gelatin capsules which contains nylon string at one end. Here this is nylon string and this is a gelatin capsules. Patient is asked to swallow it. In the stomach, capsule is dissolved due to the acid, and string remains in the duodenum. So this string, it will reach the duodenum. After overnight, string, and then you fix the one end to the cheek here like this, and after one night, then pull out this string. Okay, so you will get a bile stained mucus collected in the glass slide and examined under the microscope for motile tropozoites. By this way, you can demonstrate the tropozoites as well. Another is trichome stain. This is also comes under the laboratory diagnosis of giardia, but not commonly done. Tropozoites appears as a pear-shaped organisms. Tropozoites contain 2 anteriorly placed nuclei and 8 flagellates. Cyst appears ovoidal to ellipsoidal in shape, and nuclei and intracytoplasmic fabrics can be seen, but these are also not regularly done. Another very important test for diagnosis of giardia is direct fluorescent antibody test. Okay, DFA1. So direct fluorescent antibody assay, they have highest combinations of sensitivity and specificity. Okay, I think you know what do you mean by sensitivity and what do you mean by specificity. Sensitivity means they will pick all the cases, doesn't matter whether it is false positive or false or true positive. Okay, specificity means they will only pick those cases which are truly positive. They will not pick the cases which are false positive. So highest combinations of sensitivity and specificity, and is considered as gold standard. This DFA test, if it is available in laboratory, then it should be the test that you should send to diagnose giardial infections, and increase the probability of detections of low number of cysts. Other tests are ELISA, enzyme immunoassay, does not rely on microscopy and is useful for scanning large number of specimen. If you are doing a survey kind of thing, then you can do ELISA. Antigen of giardia are detected in the feces using this method. Okay, so in ELISA we use the these stool samples, and then antigen of giardia will be detected from that stool. If we can detect antigens of giardia, then it means the sample contains the giardia. Anti-giardial antibodies in the serum may be detected by ELISA and indirect immunofluorescent antibody test, but this is not these anti-giardial antibody detections is not very useful, because we will be at least have had exposed before as well. Now coming to the treatment, metronidazole not recommended for pregnant women, but for other people you can start with metronidazole, usually dose 400 mg TDS thrice a day we can give for 5 to 7 days. tinidazole पनि दिन सकिन्छ अथवा furazole पनि दिन सकिन्छ, but we commonly treat them with metronidazole. These days there are few incidents where drug resistance have been recorded with metronidazole. Cure rate with metronidazole is 90%. Tinidazole is more effective than metronidazole, and other antiprotozoal medicines can be used. Now preventions, I think by now you all know that how to prevent the waterborne disease. Since this is also waterborne disease, you have to improve water supply, proper disposal of human feces, right? Because the contaminated water or contaminated food with the feces which contains the cyst of giardia is the source of infection. So you maintain your water supply, drink hygienic water or portable water, proper disposal of human feces, improved personal hygienes and routine hand washing, which we are following these days very much, and proper storage of food and water. And another is the you have to control the mechanical vectors like flies. Okay, they sometimes what is the problem with them? They sit in the feces or our sewage, and then they again come back and sit in our food, carrying cyst in their legs. So we will have contaminations, and that's how the disease can be transmitted. And another very important preventive measures for giardia is treatment of symptomatic and asymptomatic individuals. Okay, so we have to treat the symptomatic as well as symptomatic individuals to prevent community transmissions. Okay, that was all about giardia, and you may get questions from giardia like discuss the laboratory diagnosis of giardia or discuss stages of giardia lamblia. Okay, like that questions can be asked. Now another very short topic, I will not go in details about this, is the Balantidium. Okay, so Balantidium coli, B. coli, is a species of ciliate protozoans, and you have to remember that these are the only protozoans which are ciliates and infects human. Okay, there are no other ciliated protozoans that infects human. So this can be one of your MCQ. And these parasites is the only member of the family known to be pathogenic to human. Host includes the pigs, boars, rats, primates, horses, cattle, guinea pigs. Okay, and infections is transmitted within or between these species by fecal-oral transmissions, and pigs are the most significant reservoir host, although they show few symptoms even if they have the B. coli. So here what you need to remember is the most significant reservoir host for Balantidium coli is pig, and B. coli is the only ciliate pathogens that infects human. So only pathogenic ciliates, largest protozoal and these are the largest protozoal parasites as well. Has tropozoites and cyst two forms. Tropozoites are large, anterior end pointed and have a groove leading to a mouth cytosomes. Posterior end is rounded. There is two nuclei, macronucleus and micronucleus in them, and two contractile vacuoles plus food vacuoles. Cysts, they are oval, they are also large, 40 to 60 micrometer, surrounded by thick, transparent, double-layered wall. Macronucleus and micronucleus vacuoles are present. Here, this picture shows the different structures inside the B. coli. So this is a tropozoites. They are ciliates. That means they all over the body they have got cilia. Okay, and they have got two nuclei. This is the macronuclei and this is micronuclei, and they have got vacuoles. Okay, these are the important structures that you should remember. Life cycle, both motile tropozoites and cyst stage occurs. Tropozoites inhibits the cecum and colon of humans. So here, unlike Giardia, they colonize which part of the body? They colonize duodenum, okay, towards the duodenum. But these B. coli, they colonize or inhibits the cecum and colon of humans. The cyst wall is very thick, possibly consists of two membranes, and transmission from one host to another host is accomplished via the cyst. So here also the infective form is the cyst. Incistations and excistations both can occur in these parasites. So here this cyst is the infective form. When we consume it, then it reaches the cecum. Okay, here they will complete that life cycle and excistations occurs, and they will form the tropozoites. Okay, once the tropozoites are formed, they will produce the disease, and again when they pass, then they can we can see tropozoites as well as cyst in the stool. Both cyst and tropozoites can be the diagnostic stage, but infective stage is only the cyst. Mostly the infections are harmless, they do not cause symptoms. Rarely tropozoites invade the mucosa and submucosa of large intestine, terminal villi, and produces ulcers and abscess. Okay, Giardia lamblia, they do not produce any ulcers or abscess. But E. histolytica in these Palatinodium coli, they can cause ulcerations and abscess in our GI tract. Okay, so when we examine the stool sample, we may see blood in the stools in these cases. Chronic recurrent diarrhea alternating with constipations are the most common clinical manifestations. Bloody mucoid stool, tenesmus, anorexia, nausea, epigastric pain, vomiting, and intestinal colics are the features. So they will have features of tenesmus, like difficulty in passing the stool. The stool even passed will be mucoid and sometimes may contain blood in them. Diagnosis, since they are large means good, easily visible. Okay, so when we do microscopic examinations, we can see the cyst and tropozoites. Tropozoites are very rapidly motile. Okay, and cysts are also large, so we can easily see them under microscope. Tropozoites are readily identified because they are large size. In fact, that B. coli is the only ciliate protozoans that parasitize humans, and the infections may disappear spontaneously. Sometimes they even do not require medical attentions. They are self-limiting. But if you need to treat Palatinodium coli, then you can start with tetracyclines or metronidazole or idoquinols. Okay, so these are the medicines. That's all about B. coli. So anything that troubles you? Any questions?